So what's good, TMG fam? Listen, it's your boy L and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. And I survived another birthday night. Alright, I'm celebrating my birthday throughout the entire weekend, man. So listen, tonight I need y'all to check back on me again tomorrow. Make sure I'm good after tonight's festivities, alright? But anyway, the moment we here for, man, the next case we going to, shout outs to that chapter. If y'all haven't subscribed to them, go ahead and do so, man. They have a ton of great content. This is the Sinister case of, I think the name is Kenia. I'm not sure how to pronounce even the last name, which I can't pronounce it, but hopefully they say it during the video. We're gonna check out this case. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, join the fam. If y'all have not checked out the new channel, what are you doing? Y'all been begging for Queen and she is back. We already done dropped, I think 4 or 5 videos over there, man. And we just recorded a round of new videos to go over there. So a lot of hot content over there, man. Just hit the link in the description. The name of the channel is Just the Tip, J-U-S-T space D-A space T-I-P. All right. So real quick moment of silence for the haters. That's enough. Now run the likes up. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's go.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, we're talking about a few things. First of all, we're talking about a guy named Travis, off to a bad start there, a woman named Kenia Monge, and we're going to talk about what happened in Colorado. A lot, by the way. We keep going back there. It's really in the major leagues now. In 2011, downtown Denver, a series of events led to a game of cat and mouse. Travis Forbes, a baker, being both. He was gluten-free. I think that might be the only thing he was free from. Though, he wasn't quite that picky before. And I doubt he is now. So, let's give it a go. It's busy downtown Denver. We're popping off to tonight. You know, I always, it's like a running thing. I always gotta make fun of the places the videos are set in. Dang, I'm out. And this night, back in March 2011, well, maybe some people are out having a few sups, doing a little dance, having a grand old time at many of the myriad downtown D nightclubs. For those kids, you know, fresh out of high school, maybe a little bit younger than they should be to be in these places. It's the time of their lives. When nightclubs are new, booze is exciting, and you don't avoid these places like the plague. One of these was the 24K Lounge in Lodo, what the kids call it. And on the night of the 31st of March 2011, there was a gang of them out there having some fun. Girls' night, and flashing a couple of fake IDs. One of them was Kenia Monge. 19 years old, outgoing, happy, and she had just graduated Cherry Creek High School less than a year before, and she was hoping to get into TV production. Kenia was a reliable, responsible, smart young woman. She had moved to Denver from Honduras at age 12, following her mother who had moved a few years previous and married an American man. They had 2 kids together, and with Kenia arriving, made it a family of 5. So what happened on the night of March 31st, early April 1st, was both bizarre and frightening. That night, Kenia was supposed to go out to one of the many clubs there to meet up with some friends, right? But she rocked up and the bouncer took one look at her fake ID and gave it a no-no. So Kenia and a couple of other friends, they went to the 24K Lounge. Kenia wasn't as close with them, and she didn't have the stay together, leave together rules she had with her close gal pals. Because at one point, Kenia disappeared from the club. She left her purse, her phone, simply vanished.
And see, women don't leave their purses, bro. I don't care what they do. That's when you know something ain't right. And what I tell y'all, man, stop going places with people you do not really know like that. You gotta be with people you really trust and know when you be out here in these clubs and stuff. It's a particular way you gotta move out here. You gotta be able to move around. If not, then you don't need to be going. You seek entertainment somewhere else, fam.
From the club. She left her purse, her phone, simply vanished.
Another thing, her phone. Another thing, people not leaving, just lying around.
She'd been dancing with some guy till about 1 a.m. and then she was gone. They looked around and then left themselves. They took Kenia's purse and her phone that she left behind and assumed she just left of her own accord. The next morning, all calls, texts went nowhere. Well, I mean, her friends had her phone. Her sisters, boyfriend, friends, no one knew where she was. Kenia's parents were called and told to call the police and make a report. Her dad, well, stepdad, though they didn't really make that distinction. When her friends dropped over Kenia's stuff to the house, he went through her phone to see if there was anything. See, at 7 p.m. on April 1st, the night after Kenia was last seen, she got a text. She got many texts, but this one was different. It was weird and creepy, self-proclaimed. Hey, this is Travis, the guy who gave you a ride last night. White creepy van. Smiley face. Did you get your car home okay? No one had heard of a Travis before. Calls to this Travis character went unresponsive. Strike one.
Sound like somebody trying to give himself a little alibi, making sure to leave him out of it because he's saying I dropped you off by sending that message, not knowing it's going to send up a red flag to somebody to make you a suspect.
Now, Travis did call back Kenia's parents the next day, and he told them his story, which went a little something like this. Yes, I was driving in downtown Denver that night, and I seen her on the side of the road, and she looked hammered. So I asked if she wanted a ride in my white, stereotypical rape van. She said yes. She then wanted some smokes. I drove to a gas station. She started yapping away to some guy. She left him. After that, strike two. Clearly bullshit.
Right.
Kenia's dad told this Travis to then meet them at this gas station. And he did, as did the police at this point.
He actually met him there, knowing that you're probably the person that did it? Not saying he did yet, because we don't know, but I'm surprised he actually met them there.
Now, Travis was very upset. He seemed very upset with himself. And he told the police the exact same story he told Kenia's parents. In fact, he seemed like a, honest character, telling a dishonest story. And so the search continued and ramped up from there.
I feel like I'm going to die without her.
2 days ago, Kenia Monge's family came forward begging for help.
Miracles do happen. I've seen them happen.
But now it's been almost a week since this 4'11", 90-pound girl disappeared from this downtown Denver nightclub, leaving behind all her possessions.
It's a nightmare.
The police spokesman says they just met with the family, now too distraught to talk. The case is serious enough that investigators have brought in outside help. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the FBI Safe Streets Task Force.
Some of the facts of this case got our attention right away, and we began putting resources into it, and as we followed leads, we became more concerned.
Earlier this week, Kenia's stepfather told us a, quote, good Samaritan had come forward, saying he picked up Kenia near the club the night she disappeared.
He told her that he lived not far from there, so he would take her home.
He says the Good Samaritan claims to have dropped her off at this gas station on Spear in Pennsylvania with another man. That's the last place police say she was seen, but officers won't confirm that story or any details of the investigation. While detectives are working it 24/7, the family's clinging to hope that Kenia is still...
Let's say why this story doesn't make any sense. You dropped her. First of all, you said you picked her up because I think you said she looked like she needed help. She was drunk, out of it. And then you drop her off to some dude. You don't try to confirm or something like that. It just doesn't sound like. You said you was taking her home, but then she wasn't drunk enough to tell you she needed to stop at this gas station. Which one was it? Like, you could poke so many holes through this story he gave. Good Samaritan. Yeah, right.
Yes, she's very strong and beautiful, and she have a good heart too.
So in the search for Kenia, the police were obviously going to focus, on the guy who was last seen her. Travis Forbes, he came under the microscope. 31 years old, and in those 31 years, he'd been busy with a number of interactions with the law. He had been arrested 3 times for burglary, twice for shoplifting, and several other times for assault.
So, you're the good Samaritan, but has this long rap sheet, huh? So you just did, the one time in your life, you did the right thing, right? Yeah, okay.
Parole violations, trespassing, and disturbing the peace, all since June 1997, when he was 17 years old. But right now it seemed like he straightened up and flew right. He was now the owner of 4B's, gluten-free food, formed in July 2009. Travis Eugene Forbes, of course he named it after himself, and he ran the darn thing out of Debbie's Bakery and Cafe in southeast Denver, renting a little space there and delivering around the city.
Travis, this is Detective Gruy. How's it going? It's Travis Forbes.
She put her arm through his arm, like while they were sitting there smoking, and they spoke Spanish, and they walked off, and that's it. That was it, and I went home.
And that's the last you see of her?
Yes. If she had made the choice to go back home or to get in my van, I would have taken her home. Like, I would not. I mean, and if I had felt any sort of weirdness about her walking over that guy, I wouldn't have done something.
So then, who was the guy Kenia left with? Well, Travis said this guy, his name was Dan, and that when they pulled up to the gas station, he saw Kenia, he offered her a smoke, they sat on the curb together, and they started yapping away in Espanol. Then they started...
But that gas station, does it have any footage of that? Please. If they sat on the curb or you dropped them there, it should be some type of footage there from the gas station cameras. Come on now.
For smoke, they sat on the curb together and they started yapping away in Espanol. Then they started walking off together. Travis asked, Kenia, you okay? He said she ignored him, kept on walking with this guy, and Travis said, alrighty then, my work here is done. He went and stayed with his girlfriend. He stuck to the story, and police had a go at where he worked. Nothing odd. And his girlfriend, Carrie Humphrey, she confirmed his story. He arrived at about 3:30, left at 8 a.m. the next morning. In the meantime, no one came forward claiming to be or know this Dan the Man character they were looking for. And so on the off chance, maybe Kenia had left behind some clue in Travis's van, they knew that's where she last was apparently. Stuck something down the seat, something fell out, whatever. They got a search warrant to have a gander. And so, they got Travis's van. And guess what it smelled like? Not granola bars, let me tell you. It was bleached up the wazoo. They also found a lot of dirt and grass under the van. Like he'd been driving, well, not in Denver City. So, what was that? Well, phone records showed he had made and received a lot of calls from Keensburg, Colorado, and that he had been there between 3 a.m. and 8 a.m. Not sleeping beside his girlfriend. A trip there, however, undertaken by the police was fruitless at the time. And then, something else. This must be like strike 20 for Travis, because the owner of the bakery, he kind of rented out a space from, well, she contacted the police with CCTV from the 3rd of April, which showed him putting a cooler in the freezer. Odd, as he didn't need to use the freezer ever. Freeze granola bars. And why was the cooler taped shut? He also had been burning shit in the alleyway behind the bakery. Once again though, this was fruitless and nothing related to Kenia was found. And then further footage came out which seemed to reveal a little bit more of what happened to Kenia, or at least fill in some blanks. It's odd and not reassuring. This was taken from an apartment building lobby around the corner from the club Kenia had been at, and she's walking in with some guys. Then a fight seems to erupt and Kenia's all over the place. The lads, wherever the frick, they seem to be dying to kick the shit out of each other. This doesn't look like a safe place for her. It goes on for a bit with one guy storming off. Kenia seems to be trying to calm things down, but then leaves alone 5 minutes after entering. 5 minutes later, she's seen walking by another apartment building and strikes up conversation with some male fella. She seems to be kind of standing around like she's waiting for someone, and she leaves. The way she was acting in the video looked way out of character. It looked like she had been drugged. Everything she did that night, her disappearing from the club, leaving her friends, leaving her stuff behind, it wasn't things she would do. She was known to be responsible, and she wouldn't leave with a strange group of guys. She probably had been roofied or something in the club. Those guys were tracked down, but you know, she was seen leaving on the footage, so they may be guilty of... Well, Kenia left of her own accord. Left to meet Travis.
I mean, it's been 2 weeks. Nobody's heard from her. There's been no trace of her. Like, it's surreal. I don't even know what to think of it.
Since you're a person of interest, let me ask you this. Did you do something with her?
No.
Did you kidnap her?
No.
Did you sexually assault her?
I did not.
Did you murder her?
I did not. No. No, and you know, having that on you.
Had to take a deep breath after spitting them lies out, didn't you? Didn't you? I mean, why did you bleach up your van? Guess if you're trying to get rid of DNA or stuff like that, maybe, huh? Grass and everything, but you wasn't laying by your girl where you say you were, huh? Phone records showed you were lying about that. Your history. What makes us think we should believe you with the history that you have? You gave it all up. Not saying that it can't happen, but you can understand why we would be, you know what I mean, suspicious of you with your history. That was your history, so that makes us suspicious. Like everything about him, what's up with the freezer, the cooler with tape on it? Like everything is pointing towards you, bro. And then if you did drop her off at a gas station, why did they, oh, you knew the dude's name. If you was dropping her off, if I'm dropping somebody off, do I care to know where they're going? No, they said they need to go here. They said they're good. They're not going to tell me the name of who the person is I'm dropping them off to. So was she coherent or was she not coherent? Like so many different things.
You know, having that energy on you is very stressful. Man, I'm sorry that I was indifferent, that I didn't think anything. I didn't think anything. I didn't think she was gonna disappear. I could have walked with them. I could have been like, no, I'm gonna take you home, and then I could have intervened more, and not just said, okay. And
oh, he's good. He's really putting on a show right now. I would give you a standing ovation, but I gotta sit in this chair for a reaction.
And gone home, what's her name?
Kenia.
Kenia, yeah.
Did you murder her?
I did not, no.
Sending mixed messages there, Travis. Wow. He instantly realized he just screwed the pooch on national TV.
No.
Not long after this not suspicious at all interview,
what's her name?
Travis disappeared.
What's her name?
Police put out a bolo alert for him. He had been, well, curious, and they wanted to keep him close. And then that interview, it just blew their minds. But it seemed like he had not just left the city, he had left the state. Then, a couple of weeks later, an ex-girlfriend of Travis, she reported her car stolen to the police. And, down in Austin, a cop just happened to come across it. He checked the license, saw it was reported stolen, and saw who was driving it. Not good for 4B. Now, a hair of Kenia's had been found in his van, but, okay, he said she was in it already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this hair found had the root attached, and it seemed like it had been ripped out. Combining this with descriptions of him as a compulsive liar, telling stories like his mother had an advanced case of breast cancer, and he had to take care of her. Or that he owned his own home. Or how about this one? He was a dishonorably discharged Marine who had refused a second tour of duty in Afghanistan because he had killed a civilian. Don't know why you would make that up, but he was really just, an all-round giant piece of shit. With anger issues, apparently, he would shout and roar at the others who worked in the bakery, one time beating the shit out of his own van in anger. So the police were, well, on the first flight to Austin. The cops were now coming down hard on old Forby, but he stuck to his story. He drove to the gas station she left, end of. Wink.
You know what? They sent me to Texas because they think you're running to Mexico.
Oh, what they do in Mexico? And you
get a tan? Did you do anything?
No.
Sure?
No. We never touched.
At all?
Not even a hug. And I usually hug people.
So did she have sex with you?
Nash, I think at this point, my lawyer should be present.
He stopped talking, but they did get his DNA. Then, on the stolen car charge, they brought him back to a Denver jail.
Normally, when they start asking you certain questions, they already know the answer to it, so they're just trying to see how you gonna play it.
Where he stayed for like a day or two before this ex-girlfriend dropped the charge. And he was gone again. And then the story just gets crazier.
Somebody upstairs is. We're just calling for somebody to see if there's somebody in the apartment.
No.
It was on the morning of the 5th of July 2011, after a night of partying in Fort Collins, someone called 911 to report a fire. The place, an apartment, it had been burnt to shite, and a woman had been rushed to hospital. When the firefighters arrived, a naked woman who had been severely, and I mean severely beaten, was placed in an ambulance. She had jumped from the second story of an apartment building to escape the flames.
Dang!
She later suffered a massive stroke in hospital due to the injuries she had sustained, and these injuries weren't from falling out a window. The only way her family recognized her was a tattoo. She was placed in a coma in order to treat her. She'd been raped and beaten, and then someone had tried to burn her alive. Fuck! And she, well, obviously at this stage, couldn't tell you who. Lydia Tillman worked for a wine company, and she lived in that apartment by herself. When the investigators began to see, well, who would do this to her, it wasn't off to a good start. Anything left behind was bleached. The rest, carbon. And although Lydia, she couldn't talk, and seemed like she was dying, she was able to give them a clue. She had DNA under her fingernails. The police knew Travis Forbes went to Fort Collins. Where he was from, he was staying with his grandparents there when he left Denver. So now, out of, well, curiosity, let's say, they wanted to match the DNA from Lydia Tillman to the DNA they took in Austin. Then, get this. So they started tracking down Travis Forbes, right? It's putting him, under surveillance or whatever. And Fort Collins, it's a party town, it's a college town. So one night they followed him around undercover as he wandered around a party district of Fort Collins, and he was slugging from a bottle of whiskey. He didn't go into any bars. He was just wandering around, looking in, having sups. Then, as the night was coming to a close, a woman, drunk, started walking home alone. Travis started following her. An undercover cop who saw this, he tried to head him off, basically went up to him, asked him a bullshit question, and he asked Travis for his name at one point. Travis gave his name as Travis Kennedy. Then, Travis started doing it to another woman who was walking home alone, following her. They said, fuck this, and arrested him on the spot for giving a false name. At this point then, they were praying his DNA would come back in time. I mean, a false name, it's a bullshit charge. He'd be out in no time. And then, just as he was bonding out, the DNA results came back. He was arrested now for much more serious crimes. Attempted murder. But he still wouldn't say anything about Kenia. After stewing for some time, Travis had one request.
I want to go to prison without being labeled as a sex offender.
Okay. What else?
That's it. That's it.
You'll confess to everything if you go to prison without being labeled a sex offender. Is that what you're saying? Is that you're man enough to that?
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Why?
The deal was no doubt.
Huh? Why? You scared that they may come for you in there? Huh? A little street justice might happen to you? What are you so afraid of? They got you now.
Death penalty, no sex crime charges. Sex offenders don't do well in prison. They shouldn't. But the family were desperate for Kenia. So if this is what it took, then it's what it took. He'd give a full confession, and he would lead them to Kenia.
I did not mean to kill her. I didn't pull over to kill her. I didn't pull over to rape her. None of that was in my head. None of it was premeditated. I wanted to bury her either next to some water or next to some trees.
Why is that?
Because that's where I would like to be buried. If somebody had killed me, I would hope that they would bury me next to something nice. I just don't mean some dumpster.
So you find this spot. Why did you pick there?
Because of the trees.
Okay. And how long do you think you dug for?
It wasn't very long. I was actually surprised. I was worried that it was so late that I wouldn't have enough time.
Okay.
But I dug that hole fast.
Were you actually inside the hole?
Yeah.
And that's why you were able to tell me that it went shoulder depth.
I left my credit card inside the hole.
Why did you do that?
Why?
No, it's not that I wanted to get caught.
Yes, you did.
It wasn't like I was trying to brag that I did it. Because I knew that if it was ever going to be found.
He lying again. Why else would you leave it? It's like your calling card. You know how certain killers like to leave a calling card or something that says it was them? You wanted to get caught. For some strange, idiotic, deranged reason to that we won't know, but you wanted to get caught.
My body credit card. Those credit cards have embroidered lettering on them. I just figured it was right. I figured that if you found the body, that I should be caught.
He picked her up that night, raped and strangled her to death. He put her in a cooler, then burned her clothing. She remained in the cooler, in his van for a couple of days, then he buried her. Lydia Tillman, she was attacked as she walked home after watching fireworks with friends. Lydia Tillman would bravely make a full recovery, and honestly it was a miracle she did so after the damage that was inflicted upon her. She would go on to work as a yoga instructor. Kenia Monge was finally returned to her family and put to rest. Travis Forbes got what he deserved, and he deserves a whole lot worse. But that's life behind bars, so not much of a life at all. He also got 48 years on top for his attack on Lydia.
If somebody had killed me, I would hope that they would bury me next to something nice.
His whole sob story was complete and utter bullshit. He was not trying to do her a favor by burying her under a tree. Fuck that. When being sentenced, he did the whole, "Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, me hole." He tried to do it again after he murdered Kenia. He nearly killed a second woman, and he was literally friggin' arrested while going after more vulnerable women. Though it seems like there could be more to this Travis Forbes character. A lot more.
I want to confess. I want to confess so bad.
Because there's more victims out there we don't know about. That it's just a matter of time before they come out. Why are you not admitting yes that you didn't say?
I knew it.
Which is interesting because in this interview,
what's her name?
He seems like, well, we know actually it's not like we know.
And that cry in that interview, that was a cry of everything starting to come crashing down on him. That's what that was. You know what I mean? He was trying to hold it together at that point.
He is this, as someone who attacks, vulnerable women, a big bit.
Yeah, he was trying to hold it together at that point. And them interviews, them lights be on you and everybody's looking, the microphone's pointed at you, you standing there. It's a lot of pressure, fam. Even for a serial, sadistic, low down, dirty, just, you know what I'm saying, person, evil human being such as himself. Still a lot of pressure, bro. A lot of pressure. No, I don't feel sorry for him. You know what I mean? He did what he did to that girl, and man, I just prayers to her family, and prayers to other victims, because you know, if he was willing to be under that much of a watch from police, knowing he was a suspect, and he still sought after women to do things to, you know, it's other women out there. You know it is. That's crazy, man. Again, people, everybody, listen, be careful. Travel in packs. You know what I'm saying? Travel in packs with people you know and that you can somewhat trust to be there for you, man. Even when, like, drinking, man. You shouldn't even be drinking and getting to that point by yourself out and amongst people like that, man. You shouldn't. Because then you're not alert, you don't know what's going on, your guard is down, you can't pay attention. No, don't put yourself in that type of situation, man. Y'all be safe out here, because evil and the crazies is out here lurking. All right, it's your boy L. Till the next reaction of my peace, y'all stay solid. Hey.